All right, let's do this. We've got 5 minutes, that's all we need, to crock something that feels, well, super complicated, but is also super important. Your health insurance policy. Let's jump right in. So why the big rush? Well, it all comes down to one number, 14%. That's how fast medical costs in India are rising every single year, according to Niti Aayog. I mean, your savings probably aren't growing that fast, right? But your insurance, it can keep up. But only if you actually know what's inside that policy.
And let's be real for a second. This is the heart of the problem, isn't it? These policies feel like they're written in some kind of secret code. They're just packed with jargon, and honestly, it's almost like they're made to be confusing. You shouldn't need a law degree just to figure out what you're covered for.
Okay, but what if I told you there's a shortcut? A way to slice through all that noise and find the stuff that really matters. And do it fast. That's what we're going to do right now. That's our mission. First up, let's follow the money. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? These first two things to check are all about protecting your bank account when a crisis hits. Okay, very first thing, you need to find a number called the sum insured. It's pretty simple. This is the absolute maximum amount of money your insurance company will pay out for you in one policy year. Think of it as the foundation of your entire coverage. But what does that number actually mean in the real world? So let's say you have a pretty standard policy, maybe for 5 lakh rupees. Sounds like a lot, right? But then just one procedure, an angioplasty in a city like Mumbai, can easily cost 3 lakh rupees. All of a sudden, that 5 lakh cushion doesn't seem so comfy, does it? This is why it's so important that your sum insured isn't just a random number. It has to be enough to cover actual, real-life medical bills. All right, next up on our hunt is something called co-payment. It's basically a cost-sharing deal between you and the insurance company. It just means that for any bill, you agree to pay a certain percentage yourself, straight out of your own pocket. So what does that look like? Imagine you get a hospital bill for 2 lakh rupees. If your policy has a 10% copay, the insurance company pays the big chunk, but you're still on the hook for 20,000 rupees. Finding that little percentage in your policy document, yeah, that's a really big deal. Okay, so we've tracked the money. Now it's time to understand the rules of the game. Because it's not just about how much they'll pay, it's also about what they'll pay for, and, crucially, when they'll start paying for it. So, the first place to look is the inclusion section. This is the good stuff. This is the part of the policy that tells you exactly what is covered when you need care. You'll see the basics, of course, like your room rent and doctor's fees, but you gotta dig a little deeper. What about daycare procedures? Surgeries where you're in and out the same day. Are ambulance fees covered? And here's a big one now. What about IUSH treatments? Coverage for that is becoming way more common, so it's definitely something to check for. And now for the other side of the coin, the exclusions. Honestly, this is where all the nasty surprises tend to hide. Things like cosmetic surgery or your regular dental checkup, almost never covered. But here's the one you really need to watch out for. Pre-existing diseases. They are almost never covered right when you buy the policy. And that leads us perfectly into the next bit of jargon, the waiting period. This is probably one of the most misunderstood parts of any policy. All it means is that even though you're paying for the insurance, some of the benefits don't start on day one. You have to, well, wait. And we're not talking about a few weeks here. These waiting periods can be pretty long. For something like maternity cover, you might be waiting anywhere from 9 months to even 3 years. And for those pre-existing conditions, the wait can be 2, 3, sometimes even 4 years before your insurance will pay for any treatment related to them. All right, so you've got the money sorted and you know the basic rules. This last part is all about access. It's about a simple question. Can you actually use this insurance when and where you need it most? And it starts with a really simple but super important question. Just think for a second. The hospital that's closest to your home, or the one you'd always choose to go to, is it on the list? That list is called the Network Hospital List, and you have to pay attention to it. Why? Because going to one of these hospitals is what makes cashless treatment possible. It means the hospital and insurer talk to each other, and you don't have to pay a massive bill up front and wait for reimbursement. This is a huge deal, especially if you're in a Tier 2 or Tier 3 city where the list might be shorter. So yeah, definitely check that list. Okay, last point. Let's think long-term for a second. You don't buy health insurance just for today, right? You're counting on it being there for you for years, for decades, for life. So the big question is, will it be? Will it still be there for you when you're older and probably need it the most? And here's some really good news. In India, the rules from the IRDAI say that all health policies have to offer lifetime renewability. What that means is the insurance company can't just kick you out or refuse to renew your policy just because you got older or, actually used it. But even with that rule in place, it's always a good idea to just find that clause in your own policy document, just for that extra peace of mind. And that's it. We've covered the money, the rules, and the access. Let's pull this all together and see what this means for you. By looking at just these few things, you're not just scratching the surface, you are getting to the heart of it. You're focusing on the 20% of the policy that makes 80% of the difference. You're cutting right through all the confusing language to the stuff that actually matters.
So here it is, your 5-minute checklist. Just 6 things. 1. Sum insured. 2. Inclusions and exclusions. 3. Waiting periods. 4. Copayment. 5. Network hospitals. And 6. Renewal terms. That's it. That is the entire code cracked.
When it comes right down to it, this isn't just about reading some boring document. Taking 5 minutes to do this, it's one of the most powerful moves you can make to safeguard your financial future against, a completely unexpected health crisis. So, I'll leave you with this one final thought. Think of your health insurance as a financial safety net. But a safety net is useless if it's full of holes, right? So, have you checked yours?